We open on a laboratory that has the same ambient noise as the original Enterprise for some reason. Not the first time we've heard a Star Trek sound on this show, by the way. Anyway, this lady is Paula, the student of this astronomer, and has been absent for a while. It turns out that she had been sending signals out into space and got a response.
The intervals, they're too short for interstellar transmission.
It threw me at first. But then when the intervals got even shorter, it occurred to me that we might be receiving signals from a satellite of some kind in geosynchronous orbit.
And as they're debating on whether it could be real or not, she gets another response.
Reply.
This is Dr. Thomas Becker.
In English, which is kind of weird. It does take a second for it to sound coherent, so I guess the machine translates what both sides are saying.
Gawk hears your words.
But the being Gawk asks some odd questions like if they're, quote, the one strain that dwells beyond the water that's between the walls.
We dwell near the wall of heat. We have heard there is a wall of cold on the other side of the water. But you are the creators. You know far better than Gawk what walls you have made.
All right, you guys. Now, you really had me going.
Dr. Becker thinks it's a prank, but after accidentally dropping his flashlight on a coolant tank...
Oh, do not shake the water, Dr. Thomas Becker. Do not destroy us.
He realizes that's where Gawk is. It turns out they're communicating with microscopic creatures living in the tank.
If intelligent protozoa existed in nature, we would have found out long before this.
Unless a unique strain mutated in that tank. While varying the water's electrochemical resistance, they were able to send minute electrical impulses to the antenna.
You placed the first strain in the water from which all other strains divided.
And they think that Dr. Becker is God.
But their thinking is not that far from the truth. I mean, humans did build a cooling system and put the water in it. And the water must have contained the ancestors of the thinker mutation.
I'm sure nothing bad will come of that.
But there's an even greater truth that you're not aware of.
Anyway, he tries to explain that there's a whole world outside of their tank.
Gawk, as a symbol of my promise, I'm going to spread light throughout your world.
Let there be light.
We have never seen this light before, Dr. Thomas Becker. All the strains are swimming toward the light of the one strain.
He has Paula go and get a sugar solution to see if they can accelerate their evolution.
1/3 of the Earth's surface is covered by dry land. That's the part where my strain lives.
In the meantime, he goes back to explaining Earth and how all living things came from the ocean and how salt is an important element.
Ah, you want to know the molecular structure to sodium chloride? All right, I'll send it to you. Transmitting it now, Gawk.
Paula returns with the sugar solution, which he has her pour into the tank, though she's hesitant about basically all of this.
Gawk, we have just sent your world a rich new food, and your strains will thrive like never before.
Now Gawk wants to send plans for a machine they can build, which will let one of Gawk's units visit them.
Do you have any idea how dangerous this could be?
Look at it. A whole new science, principles we've never dreamed of. And if they can do this on their own, without access of our knowledge or experience, imagine what they can do with someone to guide them, someone to teach them not to make the same mistakes we have. There's no limit.
Hands, dude. Anyway, Paula begins sketching. Cut to them having built the machine, and they turn it on. So, that's what Gawk looks like. I mean, they're microscopic, so it makes sense.
This unit of Gawk's strain greets the one strain.
I welcome the unit of Gawk's strain. Your race is about to enter a new age of understanding.
Suddenly someone else is trying to communicate, and it turns out that Gawk's race has a renegade strain.
If they divide further, they will prevent Gawk from transmitting.
Gawk, you've got to stop them. Your strain must survive.
Dr. Becker orders Gawk to destroy them, and Paula has had enough.
You can't just order the murder of intelligent beings because they don't agree with you. And you don't have the right to play God.
I do have the right.
Well, at least he's honest about it.
I'm responsible for what happens to them and for what happens to this project.
But under these circumstances, I don't think I can continue to work with you.
We are here to serve you, Dr. Thomas Becker.
Later, Paula communicates with the renegade strain.
Please help us. Gawk hunts for our strain.
I know. Dr. Becker ordered it. I'm sorry.
The one strain do not understand the true nature of Gawk. It is a new strain, not like the other thinkers.
According to this being, Gawk is basically a parasite that wants to spread itself as far as possible.
Gawk units have come. They come in great numbers. We resist. They are devouring it. We cannot help.
And the Renegades are dead. She goes back to the lab and Gawk has figured out how to move around and is planning to take over.
This strain of Gawk can colonize this place.
It's planning on sending more of its kind. Paula manages to turn the machine off before they can do that, but the Gawk unit doesn't appreciate that. I kind of get a kick out of the Gawk cam. I guess they couldn't figure out how to get this creature to move convincingly. It starts to envelop Paula, but it's fragile enough that she manages to stab it to death with a straight edge. Ew, gooey. Dr. Becker returns and isn't too happy with what she did.
We have lost contact with our unit. Are the one strain angry with us?
I killed it. Gawk lied.
What are you doing with that disinfectant, Paula?
Wait till he finds out that she plans on committing Gawk genocide. She ends up on the machine's pad and...
I'm afraid there's only room for one god.
it doesn't end well for her.
We thank Dr. Thomas Becker for the transmission of his unit, but it appears not to have survived the transfer. Can Dr. Thomas Becker tell us about our unit?
I'm afraid it didn't survive either.
We fear that even with mutations, our strain could not last long in your world. It appears that we must remain in water.
Then the experiment is over.
Gawk wants to try creating a new mutation that can survive in salt water, and then,
If Dr. Thomas Becker were to place the strain inside his blood fluid, we could dwell within, defend against those that invade, defend against those that mutate within. In this way, the Becker strain could be preserved for all time.
Eternal life.
And he's all for that idea. So he injects the Gawk water into his arm.
There's no limit to what we can accomplish together.
And his body and mind are taken over.
Speech and movement present no problem. We are multiplying within him.
You will place his blood fluid into the great waters of which he spoke. You will use the needles that inject to place our strain within the blood fluid of other humans. God will subdue the Earth sphere.
And so ends Microminds. Okay, so let me get the obvious joke out of the way.
Simpsons did it! Simpsons did it!
Okay, obviously this was before Simpsons did it, but yeah, humans discovering a microscopic life form and playing God with it has definitely been done before. The ending to this one kind of sets it apart, though. It usually doesn't end well for the microscopic life forms, but this time it does, or looks like it's going to. Aside from that, yeah, it's a fairly typical this is what happens when you play God kind of story, but I enjoyed it. I find the episodes that take themselves 100% seriously but have kind of an unintentionally goofy-looking monster to be delightful. This one was directed by Anthony Santa Croce, who is actually one of the producers on this show, along with Monk, the 2002 Twilight Zone, and Tales from the Dark Side, which is also the only other show he ever directed an episode for. It was written by D. Emerson Smith, who also wrote The Mother Instinct and has one more episode coming. And yeah, I just can't think of much to say about this episode. While it's got kind of a cliche plot, it's a slow burn with some interesting dialogue. Next up is Refugee. See you then. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Here's some other videos you might be interested in. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to further support my channel, there's also Patreon.